In a previous video, we talked about adaptation theory and the hedonic treadmill. In this video, we're going to explore a related phenomenon called affective forecasting. Affective forecasting is about predicting what types of emotion we're going to feel in the future based on various circumstances we experience. Again, we're using a physical metaphor like weather forecasting to understand emotions. Just like with weather forecasting, we want to know if it's going to rain or snow, and if it does rain or snow, how much rain and snow are we going to get, and how long is it going to last for. With emotions, we do the same thing. We try to predict what types of things will make us feel happy or sad or anxious or angry, and how intense those feelings will be and how long they will last for. Now, with affective forecasting, we need to remember a lot of the things that we learned in adaptation theory. So, are we actually good at predicting our emotional experiences? The answer is yes and no. In general, people are pretty good at estimating the type of emotion we will experience based on circumstances. So, for example, we estimate correctly that scoring high on a test will make us feel good, and scoring low on a test will make us feel bad. But we are not that great at estimating the duration and the intensity of such emotional experiences. Specifically, we tend to overestimate. We tend to think that the emotions we experience will last much longer than they actually do, and that they will be much more intense than they actually are. Here's a graph showing this affective forecasting bias in a study where people were asked to estimate how happy they would feel if their significant other were to dump them. And all of these scores are at the low end. So on a 7 point scale, we're talking about scores lower than 3. People estimate correctly that they will feel relatively unhappy if this were to happen to them. But over time, people tend to feel better than they predicted they would. And we also are unaware of this bias. So when people are asked to recall what they had predicted, they recalled that they predicted that they would feel much happier than they actually predicted in the moment. So people are not very good at estimating how happy they'll be in a raw sense, but we're also unaware of this bias. Now, why might affective forecasting biases happen? Your textbook authors describe some of the explanations for why this happens, one of them being a focusing illusion. We tend to focus too much on the specific factor that might make us feel happy or sad in the moment and discount other factors that play a role in our own well being. We also forget about our adaptation abilities. We forget the fact that we tend to gravitate back towards a relatively stable emotional baseline. In addition, your textbook authors note that this can vary based on personality differences. Some people are satisficers and some people are maximizers. The satisficers tend to be more content with less, and the maximizers tend to strive for the best that they can possibly get and are often feeling disappointed in the process. Now, there are some important take home points from the affective forecasting research literature. One is to remind ourselves that when something bad happens, when we feel negative emotion, we should remind ourselves that it's usually temporary and that we bounce back a lot more quickly than we realize. We should also remind ourselves that when something good happens, that we should take the time to savor it in the moment because it won't last forever. Savoring is a great part of the positive psychology literature that is relatively easy to do and very effective. It involves a sense of immersion, so zeroing in on the experience and blocking out other stimuli if possible for a bit of total immersion, and to concentrate, which involves sensory perceptual sharpening. This is really easy to do with physical things like eating delicious food or maybe smelling some really scented flowers. And when we zoom in on those experiences and really try to immerse ourselves in them and savor them, then we extend the positive emotional experience longer than we would otherwise have it.